Monsignor, and I am so thankful you are here today. I pray that I can help encourage you to feel, to love, to heal, and to help encourage you to view all of your experiences, your conversations, and interactions all through a lens of love. Hello. Welcome to my 10th episode. Double digits, baby, which I just can't believe it. I am so stinking grateful to be here, and I am so thankful for you and for taking the time to listen to my episode, and I pray something in this episode really speaks to you. I am really excited because I am currently in the process of getting certified as a positive discipline educator. And as I continue to learn, I want to share. And so my episodes moving forward will be focused around positive discipline with the occasional off topic when I feel called to talk about it, because this is my podcast and I can do what I want. I will be offering workshops and so many things in the future that I won't get into today, but I am so excited for how this is going to hopefully just help those in my community and those I get to reach through my podcast and social media platforms. So, for starters, positive discipline is an approach founded by the great Jane Nelson, based on the concepts developed by Alfred Adler and Rudolf Dreikurs, and can be thought of as the middle ground between punishment and permissiveness. So many parents and even teachers use methods that produce short-term results that also come with a cost. So not only does positive discipline produce long-term effective results, but it also helps you to understand more about human behavior, why children misbehave, and how to help children learn important life skills and develop the attitudes necessary to become not just contributing members of society, but happy contributing members of society. I just feel like everyone is so okay with being fine these days, and we deserve to be happy too, We deserve to have the tools to make life enjoyable in the process. So, for today, I want to talk a little bit about having the courage to be imperfect and discuss a few positive discipline tools. I'm not sure how I feel about calling positive discipline PD just yet, but some PD tools, I'm testing it out. Alright, so having the courage to be imperfect. This is something that they touch on in my training, and when I heard it, it really stuck out to me. And it was something I wanted to read more about and dive deeper into. So what does it mean to have the courage to be imperfect? What does that look like? By definition, the word courage means the ability to do something that frightens you. The word imperfect means not perfect, faulty, or incomplete. So the courage to be imperfect means doing something that scares you, even though you are not perfect, even though you might fail. And it's important to just really think about that. What is something that you think about often that scares you? What scares you as a parent? I just want to take a moment to say I'm not a perfect person, and I am definitely not a perfect parent. And in 10 years, 20 years, I will still be an imperfect person and an imperfect parent. But the goal is not to be perfect. There is so much goodness that can come with being an imperfect person. And one of these things is just the ability to show our children that we too are human. And the most important thing is what we do after we make a mistake. It's what we do after we say something that we didn't mean. Whether we let that mistake halt us or propel us forward, to teach us or to be a reason to shame ourselves, whether we own up to our mistakes so that we can grow, or whether we say nothing at all. Some of the goals of positive parenting is to have the courage to be imperfect, to admit to being wrong and apologizing, and most importantly, to use discipline as a means to teach and encourage rather than punish. To not expect more from your child than you are willing to give, to be both firm and kind, to parent out of love, and to make decisions based on the bigger picture, even when it doesn't always feel good in the moment. Sometimes the things that are best for our children do not always feel good in the moment, and the things that feel good to us and our children is not always what is best. It doesn't feel good in the moment doing what is best for our children in the long run. This does not always feel good, right? It doesn't feel good to say no, especially when they beg or scream or whine or hit. It doesn't feel good to watch them struggle to do something when you could so easily just help them and put them out of their misery. It never feels good in the moment to witness your child be upset, disappointed, sad, frustrated, angry, or anything but happy, really. But when we don't allow our children to feel these emotions, we are really doing a disservice to them. This is why being kind plus firm is my favorite way to be. Saying things like I love you and the answer is no, or I love you and I see you are upset, and then you do nothing. Acknowledging their feelings, but not making every little thing easier for them. Resisting the urge to jump in and help at the first sign of frustration. Not staying true to your word. Getting so frustrated or reacting so quickly that eventually you flip your lid and you are no longer firm or kind. Nothing is hard forever. This is why I love positive discipline. It feels good having the right tools in my corner so that I don't have to feel guilty with how I handled a situation. So that I can feel good knowing that even though my child felt angry or frustrated, that I handled the situation in the best way that I could for my child with the future in mind. I have talked a little bit about guilt in the past, and I think that sometimes guilt can be an excuse not to change. Guilt can keep you complacent because you think as long as you feel guilty, you are a good person. But the guilt is keeping you from changing, keeping you from acknowledging your habits or your reactions or the why behind what you are doing that is keeping you feeling guilty in the first place. Learning to pause before you say something so that you can make sure you mean what you are saying is important, but is not something that will come without practice. In positive discipline, they call this flipping your lid. When you react out of instinct and your midbrain takes over, and you stop thinking clearly and you make threats you don't intend on following through with, which makes sense when you know in this state your rational thinking has completely gone out the window. Getting to a point where instead of speaking or shooting off the handle, so to speak, you learn to just pause. Tell your child that you are feeling XYZ and you need to think about some things before you speak or respond or before you discuss what just happened. Pausing before we say something so that we are being really intentional with our words. Our children will figure us out and they will know how far they can push us and if we will give in or not. This is why it is so important to mean what you say, to not make threats you don't intend on keeping. Well, actually, I would say don't make threats at all, but a good start is not to make threats you don't intend on keeping, both for your sake and theirs. When your children learn that you mean what you say, eventually keyword eventually, not immediately, but eventually they will stop doing whatever it takes to get you to comply because they know you say what you mean and you mean what you say. And there's not really a point or a reason to just crying and doing all of the excessive things that they did in the past to get you to say yes, because they know mom or dad doesn't say yes anymore. They mean what they say. When you find yourself in a position where you are not proud of how you are acting, and I say this because for me personally, I may not realize it at first, but eventually in the midst of my ranting or my flipped lid state, I can usually tell when I'm caught up in the moment and I am being reactive and not proactive. And this is when I've learned to really ask myself if how I am acting is empowering or encouraging. When you, your child, or even your spouse is behaving in a manner where they are being reactive or they have flipped their lid, this is usually because they are feeling discouraged in some way. And as a child, either they don't have the tools or they are not yet at a point developmentally where they can express how they are feeling or name their emotions. I would go as far to say that some of us as adults don't have the tools, or we aren't always able to just name what we are feeling and know why we are feeling discouraged. All of this to say, your child does not need perfection. They need a parent who is willing to admit their imperfections and show up every day, willing to do their best, willing to admit and learn from their mistakes, willing to grow and have the courage to be imperfect. And this applies to more than just parenting. But before I touch on that, I just want to say it is never too late to say, hey buddy, yes, this is how I've done things in the past, but now I know better, and so this is how we are going to be doing things moving forward. You know, when mommy says no, it's because I mean it and I'm not going to change my mind. Or this is so situational too, because sometimes, I have to say, I said no and I'm not so sure why I said no. And so I'm going to change my mind. And I want to say yes to this instead. Because we don't want to get so caught up in being so firm on the no if the no doesn't even have a reason or there's no importance to behind, why we are saying no. But that was just a little side note. Back to what I was saying, because this applies to more than just parenting, right? How many times do we hold ourselves back from trying or for fear of not being perfect when you were never meant to even be perfect in the first place? Honestly, this idea riles me up and it genuinely pisses me off. I get so sad at the idea of holding back because you are not good at something the moment you start. Have the courage to be imperfect. Have the courage to ask yourself why. What are you scared of? This is why I choose to parent in the way that I do. And this is why positive discipline just speaks to me. Because the idea that we can raise our children to be confident and capable members of society without having to use harsh disciplines, without having to humiliate them, shame them, or cause them physical pain is just too good for me to pass up. And the idea that I can help other parents have the right tools so that instead of short-term results that create a divide between you and your child in one way or another, you can have effective, long-term results while also cultivating a sense of belonging and significance for your children and for you. And I'm not going to be perfect at this in the beginning, but I'm going to try because it is worth trying. Oftentimes, we punish from a reactive state, and effective discipline takes personal awareness, effort, and skills But if you are okay with not being perfect, with failing and trying and failing again, then I'm happy you're here, and I hope you stick around because it will be worth it. If you feel called, I would love it if in the Q&A offered for this episode, you would share with me something you were really struggling with in parenting to help me get an idea of what would be the most beneficial to talk about on some future episodes, or even something that you heard in this episode that really stuck out to you. And I just want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to tune into the Healing Mama podcast. And I apologize if my audio quality today was a little different than what you're used to. I had to record in a new space, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. And I know that audio is very important when you're listening to a podcast. I don't listen to certain podcasts because I'm like, I can't stand this. Anyways, I pray that if you do anything in the next 2 weeks, let it be learning to be okay with the parent that you are, and give yourself grace as you really pay attention to yourself and your reactions.